y'all. Today's video is by Liberal Hive Mind. Karmelo Anthony is cooked. Let's check it out.
Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. You know, obviously we've seen a bunch of trash takes, we've seen honestly some pretty horrific comments coming from community leaders surrounding this Karmelo Anthony situation, and it's easy to spend a lot of time focusing on the negative, but while that's important, of course calling out the BS is absolutely necessary, I think it's also important to give the spotlight to the people who are getting it right, the people who aren't feeding into the tribal nonsense, those who are bucking the trend and just telling it like it is, and that's exactly the leading clip that I got for you guys today. Famous comedian Charleston White took to Alex Stein's show and totally ripped Karmelo Anthony's claim of self-defense. I'd really like to show you guys this.
Oh, everybody know Charleston White. He gonna go in. He is definitely a character.
Clip just so we could spark a conversation here. And now, of course, in no way am I saying that Charleston White is the greatest legal mind of all time, and so I'm not totally going to piggyback off of what he's saying. We're also going to look at what some actual legal minds are saying, and then delve in a little bit ourselves into actual Texas penal code and see what the actual standard for self-defense is in the state. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right.
Oh yeah, he about to go in. He got his sources.
Folks, so here's Charleston White going on the record and saying what needs to be said.
You cannot bring a weapon to school. You can't say I was
what if he says self-defense?
There's no self-defense, because if you are afraid the day before, well, you have to take a weapon to school, why not notify your parents? Parents, you notify the school teacher. School teacher, let's bring these kids in here and resolve this issue. It's called conflict resolution. We was taught in homes that has morals and values, you tell the teacher. Somebody with you, you tell the teacher, let the teachers know, so when y'all have an altercation, you're cleared and you're covered. Documentation beats conversation. So where's the documentation to say this is self-defense? It's a premeditated crime because you took a weapon in fear, anticipating to use it.
That was premeditated though.
And it's at a track meet. You getting ready to run track with other kids and you got a knife on you. No, man, you got to go to jail. When is it all right to kill the bully? I don't give a what the bully did. He don't have a right to die. Teach the kids how to deal with bullies and this won't happen. We're all not equal.
That's true. He should have never had a weapon going to a track meet. Like some people say, it was a knife. If it was a knife, he shouldn't have been carrying it at a track meet. It's like there's officers there. If you need protection, it's grown-ups, it's adults there that can help him out. Then some people saying it was like a cleat sharpener. Like, still, you shouldn't be like using anything as a weapon. Like, you should have went to get an officer.
You cannot get rid of bullies. Teach the kids how to deal with them. Bullies build character. You go to work, it's going to be a bully supervisor, a bully co-worker. You cannot get rid of the bully. Teach our children conflict resolution. Everything don't have to end in violence. But when you come from the black culture, everything is disputed in violence.
You know, it's nice to see that at least some people get it.
That's true. I mean, everything that has to do music, violence, TV, violence. I mean, I know there's other sources, but everything is rooted in sex and violence.
And he makes a very valid point. Karmelo brought a knife to a track meet. That in itself could be viewed as premeditated escalation. And I really appreciated the point where he brought up conflict resolution. I think that's actually a very strong point pertaining to the issue of proportionality. In instances like this, what do we teach our kids to do? We teach them to de-escalate, to resolve conflicts without resorting to immediate violence. But in this case, it seems as though Karmelo's idea of resolving a verbal or slightly physical altercation was immediate, ruthless violence. That's not self-defense. That's ego. That's immaturity. I mean, let's not normalize this stuff. Let's not normalize carrying a knife to school or a school track meet. Let's not
True.
normalize stabbing people in the heart over petty squabbles on the schoolyard. Just think about that. The way many people on the other side of this argument seem to be justifying his behavior, I mean, you'd think they'd be fine justifying every physical altercation in every school with vicious, deadly violence, using deadly force and deadly weapons. It makes no sense. There's altercations like this across the country every single day in almost every school. Every time a student has an issue with another student, he's now justified to stab that person in the chest and it's instantly self-defense? Obviously, that makes absolutely no sense at all. And it seems as though most people with their heads screwed on straight can obviously understand that because they're looking at this through an impartial lens of logic and law. But I'll tell you, it seems very clear.
That's actually going to get very sticky if he does get off. Now that he says that, like, if he gets cleared and every kid being bullied sees that, anytime a bully does something, there's going to be a weapon in school, and it's going to get crazy.
It seems as though those who are clinging on to this idea that Karmelo is innocent or justified in his actions, well, they're not thinking legally or rationally. You've got people defending him simply because he's a black teen and the victim was white. It's emotional and racial tribalism. And frankly, I think it's absolutely destructive. I mean, what's the standard that we're setting here? That it's okay to viciously murder somebody as long as they're white? And that racial grievances or America's history somehow justifies you in that action? It's insane, and obviously people who are landing on that side are deeply wrong, at least based on the information that we have right now. Again, the video could show something totally different, although I highly doubt it. But it's not like those people are making the argument based on the available evidence that we have now. They're obviously taking a very emotional, tribal, and racial.
It is pretty crazy how races are taking sides based on race and not what's right and wrong.
Stance. But when you actually get to the law, it seems as though legal experts are pretty unanimous on this one.
In order for Karmelo to prevail on a self-defense defense, he has to establish that he reasonably feared for his life. You know, that's a steep hill to climb given the facts that I've heard so far, but that's the standard here in Texas. It is going to be incredibly difficult for Karmelo's defense team to establish that Austin, the 17-year-old who wanted Karmelo out of his tent, represented a deadly threat or even serious bodily harm. Again, we don't know what was said. We don't know what was threatened. What Karmelo said was that he was going to put his hands on me. That's not he was going to kill me. You know, that's not, I thought he was seriously going to hurt me. All he described was the potential for an offensive touching, which is not going to be enough without more. And again, the evidence is still coming in.
This is definitely a self-defense case because it always is one until you look at the facts of the case and compare the two. You have to compare who was the initial aggressor. Was it an aggressive act for him to go up and say, get away from the tent? Did he do more than that? My understanding was maybe he touched him and put hands on him. Granted that.
I'm pretty sure. Okay, I don't want to say pretty sure, but if y'all like, I don't know, if y'all go to different schools, I believe they did, and somebody is in my school's tent, of course I'm gonna tell them they gotta get out. Of course, if they, stay there, they're causing trouble. I could see both these boys got, their testosterone egos going. So they trying to show out.
Makes the decedent in this case maybe the initial aggressor. But you really still then have to look at whether or not Karmelo Anthony responded with appropriate force, he used a deadly weapon, and whether or not he was in imminent fear of great bodily injury. That's the standard in Texas and most every state to determine whether or not his actions, the way he perceived him, the way Karmelo Anthony perceived him when he took out that knife and stabbed him. If in fact he had a reason to believe in great bodily injury was imminent, was it reasonable? Was he pushed? Was he shoved? Was he hit? Because don't forget, it's of the moment, but you are allowed to respond to great deadly force with your own great deadly force, or at least your perception of great deadly force. So it's really going to be fact-based.
How do you say pushing, punching, and then say respond to deadly force with deadly force? Unless this guy is like 6'5", 400 pounds, and them punches, like you are going out, like you are blacking out when he is making contact with you. I don't even see it still getting to that level, because if it's at a track meet, all these people are around, they're gonna stop the fight. You're never really in a deadly situation.
The racial elements were reversed there. Virtually all the people who are calling for him to be acquitted would be calling for him to be convicted, and vice versa. Let's not kid ourselves. We live in a race-conscious society, and jury selection, which, of course, your other guest is so brilliant at and did so well in the Zimmerman case, is determine the outcome of this case, without a doubt.
There seems to be absolutely no merit behind the self-defense claim. And I've been spending a lot of time thinking about this and actually reading up, and I've been going through the Texas Penal Code on self-defense. And again, it seems pretty clear-cut. Let me show you what I found. We've got section 9.31, self-defense, use of force. A person is justified using force when they reasonably believe that the force is immediately necessary to protect themselves against others' use or attempted use of unlawful force. And of course, unlawful force is actually explained. The use of force is not justified if the actor provoked the other's use or attempted use of force. That I'd say is very damning for Karmelo, considering he reached in his bag for a knife and then said, "Put your hands on me and see what happens." So he essentially provoked it on. And then we've got another interesting little line here. Or if the actor was engaged in criminal activity at the time that the force was used. You could argue that bringing a concealed deadly weapon to a school event is illegal. Then we've got section 9.32, deadly force in defense of a person. A person is justified in using deadly force only if they'd be justified under section 9.31 in using force, and if they reasonably believe that deadly force is immediately necessary to protect against unlawful deadly force or prevent certain crimes as aggravated kidnap, murder, robbery, and other crimes. So let's pause for a second. Austin Metcalf, from what we understand, just simply put his hands on him. That's not protecting yourself against deadly force or aggravated kidnap, murder, robbery. From what we understand, Austin Metcalf was also unarmed, and so again, from what we understand right now, it seems highly unlikely. There is zero evidence that he had a weapon, zero indication that he was trying to take Karmelo's life, and so under Texas law, it seems as though self-defense does not apply here. We've also got this critical clause, section 9.31b5. The use of force is not justified if the actor sought an explanation or discussion with the person while carrying a weapon in violation of section 46.02, which pretty much says it all. You cannot initiate a confrontation while carrying an illegal weapon and then claim defense, which seems to be exactly what Karmelo did. He didn't try to disengage from the situation. He initiated the confrontation, went.
That's exactly what I was saying. He didn't go get any other, adult officer. If he pushed you, if he was the first contact and he pushed you, that's assault. Go ahead and get, an officer involved and handle it from there. But if it happened like they said, you pulled the knife out, I don't see you pulling a knife out and him still putting hands on you and then you stab him. Like, he's not out. I feel like he's smarter than that. So I feel like you said, put your hands on me. He may have not seen you have your hand in your bag and he's trying to, get you out of the tent. And you, after he puts his hands on you, if he did, that's when you pull the knife out and stab him.
Back, refused to leave, was interacting with the individual while reaching for a weapon, and then even egged it on and said, "Bring it on, buddy, put your hands on me and see what happens." He taunted him and then stabbed him. That is not self-defense based on Texas Penal Code, at least based on my interpretation of the Penal Code. So anyways, it seems as though the claim that this was self-defense doesn't stand up to the lightest of scrutiny. It doesn't seem to be supported by the law, it doesn't seem to be supported by the facts as we currently know them, and it certainly is not supported by basic logic and rational, non-emotional analysis. But when has that ever gotten in the way of a good online grievance campaign, huh? Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.